All right, everybody, welcome to our Zephyr 6.2 new features session. We have a bunch of new features that I'm sure you'll all be very excited about. You know, some of them are global and project test repository, a release requirement repository. We'll go over some test case versioning, test case sharing. We also now support test case usage history, test case execution history, test case reordering, test case test step copying. And in both the requirements and test cases, you'll have the option to, use some rich text in the description. In test planning, you can hide and unhide test cycles, so it's a cleaner view. Also, we support global sorting on all the tables now in ascending and descending, along with some updates to our reporting and dashboards. So I'll jump right in and get to, the topic that everybody's super excited about, which is our global repository. So you'll notice now in Zephyr 6.2, you'll have an option for a global repository. So if I click on this, and once again, this is a permissions-based thing. So you have to have permission to actually have access to the global test repository. You click in. You'll get a summary of all your test cases here, and then you'll have your test case repository. You'll know it's a global test case because we now have a column for origin. And you can also configure which projects you're able to share from the global repository. Now you can copy test cases to the global repository to get them in there. It's just as simple as our, copy from projects and releases. Just select the, project and go ahead and drag that, right over to your global repository. And then you'll now have that in your global repository. As far as, getting test cases from your global repository to your actual projects, you're going to do that, right within your project itself. So select your project, go into your release. In your test case repository, you'll also see that, there's project level repository as well. And it's very simple. Just go ahead, click on the three dots, and you can share from projects and releases. Go into your global test repository, and you can, select all these and throw them, right into your project test repository. One thing you'll notice is if it's a global test case, you'll have this italics here, just so you have, an idea of where that test case came from. What's really great about the global test repository is once you share it with your other projects or releases, it'll maintain, that test case ID. So you can follow the test case throughout the history of its executions. Like I mentioned, you can have the project test repository right here as well, or you could manage by releases. So in Zephyr 6.2, we give you complete flexibility on how you want to organize and maintain your test cases, whether it be at a global level, a project level, or at the release level. Similar to the global and project test repositories, in requirements now, you also have project level requirements. So this is great if you want to house all the requirements for an entire project and across releases in a project, or you can still use releases as well. Test case versioning is also updated in 6.2. So if I go to release 6 here, look at some of my API tests, and let's look at 276 here. So you'll see, we currently have different versions. Here's our new rich text in the description. But say I want to look and compare versions as well. So I can select current version and use this version and do a quick compare, and you'll get a side-by-side analysis showing you, what's changed between the two versions. So in this case, you'll see that the versions are different, the priority is different, and in this specific test case, there's some new text in the description box. So that way it gives you, a nice clear view so you can see what's changed between versions and versions. We also have test case execution history. So if you click into a test case and you scroll down below, you'll see, all the executions for that particular test case. And this is within the test repository here. So you can look back and say, in Project Mercury, release 6, this specific cycle, phase, this version of the test case, it failed. It had these defects mapped to it. And also, it was executed on this specific date. And you'll see that, for all your execution history. Now, also in test execution, if you go to a specific test case, you'll see, the execution history within that specific test run there. So, say I update this test step, it'll give you the updated execution status and who performed the execution. Another feature you guys will be really excited about is the ability in the test repository here to reorder your test cases. So maybe you don't want them in, this particular order. You can, drag and drop, click save, and now your test cases are, in a different order. If you want, 907 at the top there, no issues there at all. You'll also be able to do, like I said, the global sorting here. So if you want to sort ascending or descending, just look for the little arrow within the table here, click on it, and you can change the ascending or descending in the different tables here. Another great feature is you now have the ability to copy test steps. So you can select the specific step you want to copy. You can copy it and paste it right in. You can either copy, all the steps or delete all the steps. Just do a copy and then go to another test case and paste them right in. So very, simple feature there that a lot of people will be happy about. So in both the test case and requirements section now, we have a description box where you can, format text. You can change colors. You can add, specific links or images. bullet points. So if you weren't using the test steps perhaps for your testing, you can use a description box here to give a full view of what kind of test you actually want to perform. In test planning, you now get a nice view with percentage breakdown. So you can look in your specific phase and say, okay, these I have 11% that have passed, 44 have failed, 44 are work in progress. So you can get an idea of where you're at in each of your specific phases. But say some of these phases are done, and you keep having to scroll and scroll. Now you have the ability to hide a cycle. So you can just hide that cycle. And if you want to hide, for really hide the cycles, you can click hide the cycles. So now you don't see it at all. If you want to unhide it, you'll see it right here. And if you want to, see all the information behind it, click unhide cycle. As far as reporting goes, our dashboard, we have 3 new gadgets. You have the execution analysis snapshot. So now you can look at your project and see a holistic view between all your releases. So here's your project, all of your releases, and you can see your testing activity, right here. So you can scroll. You also have the ability to filter here. Or look at, duration in minutes. Same with planned versus executed. This will be by project, the release, and now you take it down, one more level to the cycle. So you can see planned, executed, and percentage, but you get, more of a holistic view of your whole release. These can also be, PDF or printed. And the other one we have is test case count. Select your project. You can select all of your releases. Click save, and it'll show you your test case count for your entire project, and then broken down by each of your release folders. You can also click in and see the number of tests by your different folders as well. So that's another really great feature. So just to recap real quick, you have your global test repository, meaning you can now share your test cases across all projects and releases, maintaining, that specific test case ID. So you get the history. You also have, when you're not on the latest version, it'll be a colored orange. So if you click into this test case and then click version, you'll know that you're not on the latest version. So you can also click use this version. And once again, you can define who has access to the global test repository, so nobody is messing with all the test cases. And you can also select, which projects can share with the global repository. Very powerful to have all your test cases in one spot, especially, if you're doing regression testing and they're tests you're using over and over again. Now you can, track by that ID in which cycles and phases and projects, these tests are failing. And same with that, you have the project level test case repository as well. So if you want to manage at the project level your test cases, you can do that. And just like previously, you still get to manage at the release level if that's something you want as well. In requirements, you get the requirements for the entire project, or you can break it out and release, once again, being very flexible to everybody's needs. So if you want to manage your requirements at the project level, you can do that, or you can manage it at the release level. We still have, your executions here. So now you have a nice view of all your test executions for a particular test case. And once again, you can see the project, the release, the cycle, the phase, the version, the test case status, any defects that were linked, who executed, and when the execution was performed. So you get, all that test case history easily in front of you. And same goes, for a specific test case that's being executed in a phase. You get to see the execution history within that particular phase of what the status was, the old value, the new value, and who made the change. Once again, test case reordering. This is great for, however you want to organize your tests, because maybe you don't want them in chronological order. So now you can organize them however you want. So when a tester logs in to perform their executions, they're in a specific order. And it's, once again, very simple. If you want 278 at the top, just click and drag and click save. So that, from a pretty high level, are all the new features in our 6.2 release.